The real reason for Alexa Bliss's WWE absence has been revealed, as well as scrapped WrestleMania plans for Alexa Bliss. Plus, a big match has been added to WrestleMania Backlash. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Alexa Bliss. Now, we had all those vignettes about the therapy. She rocked up at Elimination Chamber.
She did.
And she kind of looked the same, didn't she?
Yeah, it was very strange. We got through all these vignettes. She went to go and see a therapist, as you said. The therapist was very much like, you know, if you have Lily by your side now, because it all changed, they took the stuffing out of the old Lily and put it in a new Lily doll for whatever reason that makes no sense to me. And they were like, yeah, if you have Lily by your side this whole time, you'll be absolutely fine. She comes out at Elimination Chamber, no Lily. Looks like old Alexa Bliss. Just... what's going on?
And then nothing. The stuffing was ripped out of creative from there on in. Now, we were informed that the reason she wasn't at WrestleMania is because she was getting married. Her and Ryan Cabrera tied the knot around WrestleMania weekend. Congratulations. But that wasn't actually the full reason as to why she wasn't there. Fightful Select is saying this morning that basically creative had nothing for Alexa Bliss over WrestleMania weekend, saying Alexa Bliss has been off television for the last couple of months. It came a little earlier than many expected, say Fightful informed back in January that there were these 9 vignettes being shot, which we saw. Talent, creative, and higher-ups that Fightful spoke to said it became known that Bliss had voiced her displeasure and frustration in the days following the Elimination Chamber about her creative direction or lack thereof. Despite her not appearing on the WrestleMania card, creative were told that she was willing to work the show and there were pitches to involve her in Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair's match. They were quickly shot down. We weren't able to confirm if those pitches came from Bliss or someone within creative, though. We are told that by the end of February, it was pretty well determined internally that Bliss would not be featured on WrestleMania. Those that we spoke to say the priority of booking Bliss shifted significantly after the vignettes. So what Fightful say as well in this report is that WWE planned out these vignettes. Costed them, produced them, with no real idea as to how they were going to come out the other side of them.
No.
But just went, we'll film them and then we'll figure it out from there. And then post-WrestleMania, other plans have come to the fore and they've just gone, whatever, we'll just park that.
Yeah, it's and it's such a shame as well. Obviously, here Bliss is expressing her frustration at things. It's not necessarily all Bliss's fault at all. You know, a lot of it is to do with creative and stuff as well. And I can see why she would be so frustrated too, because it seems like you're going in one direction and then all of a sudden everything just stops. And like that seems to be the running trend at the moment within WWE. You start something, but we don't necessarily know how we're going to get to the end game, and then they don't figure that out before the next thing appears, and like it just falls flat, gets forgotten about or whatever, like it just gets put in the bin, and it's such a shame. One thing I will say, I'm very glad that she wasn't involved in the Becky Lynch and Bianca match at WrestleMania. I think that would have probably done her more harm doing so, because I think that match needed to be just those two competitors in the ring to finish everything that happened at SummerSlam. And I think any sort of shenanigans involving Bliss, again, not through any fault of her own, you know, through probably like creative and whatnot, I think that would have been sort of a bad move for them to do with her.
Shoehorning her into that match just wouldn't have worked for Alexa Bliss at all.
Absolutely not.
And you'd have thought that by the way that they booked her and presented her going into Elimination Chamber, they might have had some ideas for WrestleMania already, but clearly they didn't. And we get onto the case of WWE, I think, quite a bit for this sort of stop-start creative that they have. And the thing is, like, historically, they've been really good at it. Like they can do it. One of my favorite wrestling stories of all time. Most of my favorite wrestling stories of all time have been told through WWE. You know, we recently for the SmackDown review watched Austin versus The Rock for WrestleMania 17. And okay, if you remember that particular build and that particular storyline, admittedly, they tried to add Deborah in as The Rock's manager. But with the exception of that bit, the story that they told with these two coming together was phenomenal. phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I know everybody kind of likes to kind of jump on the Fed bad bandwagon.
Yeah.
And it's easy to, but I kind of want to weigh it up by saying, you know what? Some of the best wrestling stories that have ever been told have been told through WWE, but they are just really inconsistent at the moment. And I don't know whether that's obviously a creative thing, but I think it's also a sort of a cultural thing. Because they don't allow, there's no time for things to breathe anymore. We live in a time where like everybody has to do stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Quick, it's not working, try something else. Change the channel.
That's and I mean, that's also a good point, but at the same time, they've got this 3-hour show in Raw, which, you know, Alexa Bliss is on. And you don't have enough time to let it breathe and develop on there properly. Like there's something doesn't quite add up, does it?
No, there is something not quite clicking into place here. Like especially, and it's frustrating when you go to all the trouble of making people care about the return of somebody.
Yeah.
In the way that you do, and then just go whatever.
And I mean,
and that's why it's like they see the Ezekiel stuff playing out on Raw. Sorry,
no.
That's why the Ezekiel stuff playing out on Raw, like, okay, I wasn't sold on it at first. I'm kind of going, okay, this is fine. But in the back of my mind, I hear a distant beat. Che Guevara and a Boosie to a disco beat. That's a Pet Shop Boys song. In the back of my mind, I can't help but feel that there's going to be, like, any minute now, they'll just go, forget it, he's alive.
Yeah.
Like, just because...
Again, it's one of those things. I think I personally think sometimes they rely on sort of the talent kind of filling in the gaps, right? In terms of like, okay, improvise. You've got this tonight. Do this and see where it goes, kind of thing. But you know, and that's like all the power to the talent for doing that. If that is the case, you know, sort of filling in the gaps and making these things more entertaining than they necessarily seem on paper.
Yeah. There's them putting in the work there, isn't it? We'll keep an eye on Alexa Bliss's situation on Cultaholic.com. We've had another match added for WrestleMania Backlash as well. So it was on Raw last night that Edge threw out the challenge to AJ Styles for a WrestleMania rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. May the 8th, that's going to go down. He says he's going to put a stake in AJ Styles' heart. I think he means
That'll kill the man. Don't do that. That'll kill him.
He doesn't like meat. But then we saw Styles get beaten up by Edge and Damian Priest in the locker room. They did lights on, lights off.
Strobing. Doing that again.
Session Moth
Session Moth, yeah.
Session Moth turned up. What a treat for everybody involved. So we're going to get AJ Styles versus Edge Part 2 at WrestleMania Backlash. What else is happening at WrestleMania Backlash?
Well, Wrestling Observer are also reporting that Roman Reigns is set to headline WrestleMania Backlash, but does not have a program as of yet, as we were talking about before. They don't know sometimes what they want to do. There we go. But also on the card, obviously, as we said, Edge versus AJ Styles. We've got the SmackDown Women's title I Quit match between Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. We've got the Raw Women's title, Bianca Belair versus Sonya Deville. I'm quite excited to see that one, actually, you know.
There's some fun build for that.
Yeah, tag team unification match between the Usos and RK Bro, another one I'm quite excited for. And Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins in a rematch.
A WrestleMania rematch.
A WrestleMania
Backlash.
Yeah.
A lot of them
so much WrestleMania. Edge and AJ Styles, I'm quite excited for this again. Another thing I was kind of thinking is, obviously we've got the dark, spooky, brooding, if you will, bollocks of Edge and Damian Priest at this point. Is there any room for Alexa Bliss to also have that kind of stuff on Raw? You know,
we mentioned a little while ago about Rhea Ripley joining.
Yeah.
Put Bliss in there as well.
That could work.
What a fun little spooky gang.
Yeah.
Fun spooky gang, potentially. Who'd you put Roman Reigns in there with at Backlash? I think it looks like they might lean towards Shinsuke Nakamura.
I was thinking. I was like, I would be happy with that. Even though, you know, obviously we know it's going to be like just a throwaway thing just for them to have something to do at WrestleMania Backlash. Shinsuke and Roman, I would... absolutely say yes to that.
Down for that.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice little match for that one. One to keep an eye on. More news throughout the day at Cultaholic.com.
I'm just jigging. I just like doing news with you, Tom. It gets me jigging.
Look at this. Join us in the hashtag Cultaholic News Jig over on Twitter. If you want, it's on you. Anyway, I think that gets us to 9 minutes.
I think it does.
Kiss.
Love you, bye.